So we're working our way through the Gospel according to St. Mark, and we've gotten to the part of Mark's story where Jesus basically goes to Vegas. So in chapter 7, Mark tells us that Jesus left that place, that is, he left Israel, where he's just been involved in a rather tense meeting with some religious experts, and he left there and he went to the vicinity of Tyre. Now, if you are a Bible teacher like Jesus, you are not supposed to be anywhere near the vicinity of Tyre. It was geographically a few miles outside of Israel, but ideologically it was the other side of the world. So everyone living at the time of Jesus knew that Tyre was where Jezebel, the great bad girl of the Bible, came from. Everyone living at the time of Jesus knew that 200 years earlier, the people of Tyre had sided with the Seleucid pagan Greeks against the Bible-reading Jews. Everyone living at the time of Jesus knew that Jewish literature was replete with references to the naughty things you could get up to in Tyre, and that the people of Tyre worshipped all manner of nasty gods and goddesses. So, first century in Jesus' world, Tyre is Sin City. What happens in Tyre stays in Tyre. And so as soon as we read that Jesus leaves a good place, in inverted commas, and goes here, the question then immediately becomes, who is Jesus for exactly? Is Jesus for people like you? Or is Jesus for people who are better than you? People with clean stories, with successful track records? Or is he for people whose lives are complex and often disappointing? If you walk along Wellington Street in Toronto, you'll notice nestled among the imposing glass structures of Canada's financial centre a rather incongruous looking red building. You might be forgiven for thinking this building is an old church, or perhaps a former Victorian soup kitchen. It is in fact the Toronto Club. And as Canada's most exclusive club, the Toronto Club is not for the likes of you. You're just not successful enough, and are unlikely ever to be so. Maybe, and I do mean maybe. I've said it 3 times, so I probably mean it. Maybe. That's 4. If you were the manager of a leading hedge fund. Maybe if you were a judge or a leading partner in a Bay Street law firm. Maybe then you could muster up enough of the right references, and then you could pay your $20,000 initiation fee, and then you could become a member of the club. And once you became a member of the club, well then you could use the facilities of the club, because the raison d'etre of the club is to cater to the members of the club. That's what we do at the club. We look after the people who are in the club. The religious people who Jesus worked with on a day-to-day basis believed that God was like one of these exclusive clubs, and that they, by virtue of their religion, were the members of that club. So in their thinking then, God and all that God was, and all that God was for, and all that God did, and all that God represented, was for them and them alone. And by extension, he was not for others. So have a look at this. These words were written by an influential rabbi who lived around the time of Jesus. They come from the Babylonian Talmud. This is it's an important Jewish text that comes from the New Testament era. It matters to us because it gives us an insight at what's going on in the religious world that Jesus worked in. Look at what this rabbi says. He says the Torah, that is the Bible, was intended to be given to the chosen people, but not to the Gentiles, that is, to everyone else. Now this is interesting, because what this rabbi is saying then is that God, he's for us, for the chosen, but he's not for anyone else. His Torah, his word, is for us alone, the members of the club. And in Jesus' world, to be a member of this club, you had to not only be Jewish, you had to be good at it. And so, since Mark's story is about Jesus bringing the benefits and the blessings of God, the question lingering in the subtext of this Sin City episode is, who exactly then are those blessings and benefits for? Are they for people like you? Or are they for people better than you? And how does your, if I can put it delicately, clumsy expression of Christianity place you? Are you in or are you out? Do you pass or do you fail? Does he like or does he not? Now, having said all that, Jesus, I don't think, is going to tire to make a point. I think Jesus is going to tire because he's had it up to here with the people in his life. Can you relate? 2 days ago, he had to deal with 5,000 angry zealots. 1 day ago, he had a meeting with some very opinionated leaders who were experts in the Bible. It didn't go well. So Jesus is like, I just need to get out of town and I need to go somewhere where I'm not going to meet any religious people because I've had it up to here with religious people. So he thinks, what's the one place I can go where I'm not going to meet any religious people? Either the liquor store or Tyre. So he goes to Tyre. This would be like an Amish person saying, you know what? I like being Amish. It's awesome usually. I like the beards and the dungarees and the cinnamon buns. It works for me. But every now and again, I just need a break from Amishness, so I'm going to go to Vegas and chill out, because I'm not going to meet any Amish people there. This is exactly why Jesus goes to Tyre. So he checks into a hotel, and you can really get the vibe in this sentence that he wants this to be low-key. The word secret is actually used. Jesus doesn't want anyone to know. He just wants to sit by a pool, drink something with an umbrella poking out the end, and forget about life for a few days. Next sentence, however. We're told that a woman who lived there, she heard about Jesus. That is, she heard that he was able to help certain people with certain problems. And her particular problem was, Mark says, that she had a little daughter who was possessed by an evil spirit. And so she comes to Jesus and she asks for help. Now, the thing that Mark wants us to understand at this point is that this woman is wrong. Everything about this sentence, all of the biographical information we're told, it just screams wrong. She's not a member of the club. She's got no prospect of ever becoming a member of the club. Therefore, all of God's benefits are not for her. Verse 26 and 7 read like a list of demerit. Number one, she's a woman. In the ancient world, women were second-class citizens. This sort of social encounter was frowned upon. She's not meant to be talking to Jesus. Number two, Mark is careful to tell us that she's a Greek. If you wanted to hear a long vitriolic monologue in the first century, you just had to go to a rabbi and ask him what he thought of Greeks. In their worldview, Greeks were the problem. They caused all the nakedness and all the immorality and all the lowering of standards in Israel. They hated these people. Number three, Mark tells us, she was from Syrophoenicia. This is a deep, dark, pagan place. So to the mind of a first century Jew, nothing good could possibly come out of there. So it would come as no surprise, number four therefore, to discover that she had a demon-possessed daughter. So all of Jesus' contemporaries would have said, well, of course she does. Of course her life's a mess. Of course nothing works for her. Look at where she's from. Look at how she lives. Look at what she believes. She deserves a mess. That's her world. So according then to the rules of the club, it would be hard to imagine a more surreal encounter between two people. Here you've got Jesus, who is a rabbi. He's a conservative Bible teacher. and you've got a pagan Greek woman whose baby spews green. This is not meant to make sense. And this is exactly what Mark wants us to understand. This woman, for a variety of reasons, is firmly outside of the club. This means then that the blessings of God, the kindness of God, the help of God, the benefits of God, none of that is for her. She's the wrong person, she's not in the club, and she has zero prospect of ever joining the club. However, she doesn't care. All she cares about is that her little daughter is ill. So you'll notice that the point is made, it's not just her child that's ill, but her little child. The word little is added for emphasis. And as a parent, put yourself in her shoes. If your child was desperate, you would do whatever you had to do to get what you needed to get. And if the answer you needed was hidden behind the sturdy doors of the Toronto Club, it wouldn't matter to you that you weren't a member and could never become one. You'd claw your way through steel and concrete to get what you needed to get, because your little girl is sick. That's how you roll as a parent. You will do whatever you have to do for the people you love. So there you are. And to me this is set up to go a certain way now. Jesus is there, chilling. And Jesus is nice, right? Right? Jesus is all about helping people. Jesus is kind. Jesus has helped parents in trouble. So far in the story, we've come to expect that this is what he's going to do. He's going to immediately jump up and help, and everything's going to get better. This is where this is going, right? So what Jesus says next is profoundly unappealing and shocking. Look at what he says, next sentence. He's talking to a mother who's begging for help. He says, "First let the children eat all they want, for it is not right to take the children's bread and throw it to the dogs." Now I don't know if Jesus is having a bad day at this point. I do know that he's being rude and absolutely offensive. A moment ago, let's take a step back on that for a moment. Sometimes that's what you get from Jesus, isn't it? Have you noticed this so far in your journey of faith? Jesus was there for other people, he wasn't there for you. Faith worked for other people, it didn't work for you. Other people got the help they needed, the answer they needed, the results they needed. It didn't work for you. You did everything right as best you could according to your conscience, and it still fell apart. Other people got theirs, you didn't get yours. So that's where this mother is right now. Jesus has helped everyone in this story. Everyone and anyone. He's turned nobody away. 2 days ago he helped 5,000 terrorists. Now a mother? He won't help? Can't give children's bread and will feed it to dogs, whatever? What is this? A moment ago I explained to you that in Israel at the time of Jesus, the Jews believed that God was an exclusive club, and that they, by virtue of their Jewishness, were the members of that club. That membership was traditionally expressed using the vocabulary of childhood. So when they spoke of themselves, they said that we are the children of God, and God is our Father. And so as our Father, whenever we need help, he's there for us, he's kind to us, he protects us. Our Father gives us what we need because we are the children of God. Nice. And if they, the members of the club, were the children of God, they also said that the non-members of the club were dogs. So within Jesus' world, to call somebody a dog was to use nasty vocabulary. This was the language you used to describe someone who, either by virtue of their lifestyle or their story or their moral failure or their ethnicity, were not members of the club. So if a religious teacher in Jesus' world was talking to an alcoholic, he would say, well, you're a dog, because your lifestyle means that you're not part of, you're not in with God. So God's not for you. You're a dog. If he was talking to someone who'd had an affair, he would say, well, I'm sorry, but you're a dog, because your lifestyle means that you are by definition not in with God. You are by definition out. So God is not for you, can't help you, can't do anything for you. And if someone was ethnically or religiously non-Jewish, then they were automatically called dogs. One rabbi working at the same time of Jesus said that the Gentiles are all dogs. Let's go back to the Babylonian Talmud. Look at what the same rabbi says. He says, the sacred food was intended for me. You see, God is for me. The wisdom is for me. The kindness is for me. The help is for me, because I'm in. But not for the dogs. The Torah, the Bible, was intended to be given to the chosen people. Now, chosen people, that's a nice phrase, if you're one of them. The word included and invited and belonging, those are all nice words if they apply to you. But if you're not included and you're not invited and you don't feel you belong, then they're cruel words. Right? So this is the world Jesus is working in. It's a bit like politics south of the border, I suppose. It's desperately polarized. It's binary. You're either in or you're out. You're one or the other. It's on or it's off. And we always know which you are. You're either a child of God or you're a dog. So the issue then at stake in this surreal encounter between Jesus and this woman is whether Jesus, as the bringer of God's benefits and kindnesses and favours and blessings, is sent to the club members, the children, or to the dogs. And this is why I find Jesus' words here so disappointing, because what Jesus is essentially saying is that he has in fact come for the members of the club. He's come for those who belong, for those who are invited, for those who are children, for those who fit in. And he hasn't come for anyone else. And the reason I find that so disappointing and shocking is because that is not the Jesus I've come to expect in the previous 6 chapters of the story. This is not Jesus at all. This woman is desperate for help, and Jesus isn't there for her. Can you relate? Desperate for help. Jesus isn't there. 2 things to say about this. First of all, Jesus is culturally afraid, I think, that if he helps this woman, his help will be misconstrued. Remember, so far in the story, Jesus' miracles have been visual aids that communicated a deeper meaning, a deeper message. This woman is not familiar with the Hebrew Bible. She knows nothing of the deeper reality that Jesus is trying to communicate. I mean, the religious experts of Jesus' Jewish world didn't even understand what Jesus was trying to say. What chance does this woman have? She knows nothing of the Bible. She knows nothing of the story. Any help he gives her is only going to be misunderstood. And Jesus is up to here with being misunderstood. Every day of his life he's been misunderstood so far. And it's getting him into more and more trouble. And he just doesn't want it anymore. Secondly, in this sentence, Jesus seems to be talking about timeline. He seems to be saying, you know what, right now I've come for the children, that is the members, but eventually what I'm about will spill over to the dogs, the non-members. So I can't help you today, but eventually we'll get round to you and it'll all work out eventually, maybe in a month or a year or 10 years. So what Jesus is basically saying in this uncomfortable sentence is, I can't help you because I'm the Jewish Messiah. Eventually what I do will come to people who live in Tyre, but not yet. Because what I do must be understood within a certain context, and you just simply can't understand the context because you're a dog. You're not familiar with the story. And so if I work a miracle for you and I help you, it's just going to lead to misunderstanding, and we don't want that, trust me. And you know when Jesus is talking about timelines and misunderstandings and contexts, all this woman is hearing in her head is... Did I just say something wrong? You know that when your partner talks to you and you're not listening, you just hear white noise? No?
Yes. Yes.
Right? I'm aware your lips are moving right now, and I'm aware you're saying something important, but I can't process a single word you're saying because there's this issue in my head that's far more important than whatever gibberish you're talking, right? Oh my goodness. So she's hearing Jesus talk about all this stuff, and all she hears is blah, blah, blah. Whatever. That's great, Jesus, but you see, here's the issue. My little girl is sick today. And it's fantastic that eventually what you do will spill over into the lives of the people who live in Tyre. But I don't have an eventually problem. I've got a today problem. I haven't come here to talk to you today about a problem 6 months down the road. I've come to you to talk about right here, right now. So I can't wait for that. I got a now issue, not a then issue. And so she starts to argue with Jesus, which is fantastic. An argument is just a conversation of raised intensity. Always a good thing to do because it's honest. So she's just not going home. She's at that place in life where she says, I'm sorry, I've had it up to here with no. I've had no from this guy, and no from that guy, and no from that doctor, and no from this expert. I've had no, 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 no. And I'm not going home today with another no. I'm not leaving here till I get a yes. So don't you say no to me. I'm having a yes. And by the way, in life, the people who take no for an answer end up getting no for an answer. You take no for an answer, knows what you're going to go home with. The number one predictor of success, remember, isn't talent, or looks, or education, or any of that stuff. It's perseverance. It's the ability to keep plugging on. Like the man said, to go from failure to failure, from disappointment to disappointment, with an undiminished sense of enthusiasm. Till eventually you get it. She's not going home with another no. So next sentence, she says, yes, Lord. But even the dogs under the table can eat the children's crumbs. Easy enough picture to understand. It happens in my home every day. We eat at the table, and beside the table the dog eats his stuff. And we can both eat at the same time. So she's been really cheeky to Jesus at this point. She's like, Jesus, I'm sorry, but you're completely wrong. That stuff you said about how the children got to eat first and then the dogs got to eat, well, at my home, we all eat together. We eat at the table, and whatever falls off the table, the dog eats. So come on. Enough of the no. Give me what I need. Now it seems to me that correcting Jesus I'm not sure I could do that. It takes a fair bit of courage. And this woman has more than a fair bit. So notice that she accepts some of what Jesus says. She accepts that Jesus hasn't come for people like her, not yet. She accepts that Jesus first has to go and explain to the children of God what it's all about. And she's fine with that. She doesn't care. But her basic negotiating position is, Jesus, I have come to you today so you can help me with my problem today. And I am not going home until you help me with what I came for today. So just let me in on some of this favour and blessing and benefits and kindness and whatever it is you do. And so you can say whatever you need to say. I'm just going to come straight back to you with a response. I'm folding my arms. I'm looking at you in the eye. And I'm telling you, I am not leaving until I get a yes. Right? So if you want to get back to enjoying that drink with an umbrella, you better give me what I want. Because I'm not leaving. Next sentence. Jesus said to her, for such a reply you may go. Your daughter is better. Now so far in Mark's story, Jesus, and we'll see this increasingly in the coming chapters, Jesus has been trying really hard to teach his disciples. And they don't get it. He's been trying really hard to teach religious experts, people who should know this stuff, and they don't get it. So far in the story, all the right people don't get it. And yet here, a wrong person with the wrong track record gets it. She's not a club member, but she knows more than the club members seem to know. Because she gets it, Jesus is so for her right now. He's so for her. You know, in the Gospels, the one thing that amazes Jesus, the only thing that amazes Jesus, in fact, is faith. When you read through the story, you notice that faith, either the presence of it or the lack of it, is the one thing that makes Jesus sit up and pay attention. And listen, when the chips are down in life, as I know they often are for so many of us, faith is easy. Because when the chips are down, what do you have to lose? What does faith cost you then? I know how easy it is to sit on the sofa and feel the weight of despair that would keep you there. But if you will just have a little faith, a little bit of belief, and get up, and move, and believe that something you do, anything you do, can make a difference. And that God is there for you. And that you can get through today. And you can make things better. And that you will get the answer you're looking for. And that you shouldn't give up. If you will just have that little bit of belief, it makes so much of a difference. Faith costs no more than the lack of it. Belief costs no more than disbelief. Hope costs no more than despair. And you have nothing to lose anyway. What did this woman have to lose coming to see Jesus? What did she have to lose believing in him? Not a thing. Why not stick it out and be dogged about it? It's not working anyway. Faith can only make things better. Belief can only cause you to turn a corner. And so she goes home. And the story ends by saying she found her child lying on the bed with the demon gone. And tradition has it that her and her daughter went on to become key players in the Christian church that now meets in the Lebanon. And they still meet there today. Here they are. Amazing. So what's going on in this story? Very simple. Jesus has so far been working with people who believed that God was a club, and that club was for members only, and becoming a member of that club was very simple. You just had to fulfill 2 criteria. You had to know what the rules of the religion were, and you had to successfully obey them. And many of the people to whom Jesus spoke in his career seriously believed that the reason God liked them and the reason God was for them because they knew the rules and they were good at living them. And obviously, in that kind of a merit-based system, there was an entire subclass of people who weren't good at religion. They were at best clumsy at it. And they were made to feel that God just wasn't for them. Somehow they didn't fit into the box being hammered down their throats. And now in this story, Jesus approves of a person who not only doesn't obey the rules of religion, she doesn't even know what they are. She's completely unaware of it. The only thing she has is faith. She has this almost irrational belief that Jesus is the answer. And she isn't leaving till she gets it. And in the story, faith is the only thing that counts with Jesus. It's not knowing what the rules are. It's not keeping them successfully. It is faith that Jesus is the answer, and then staking one's life upon it. I was leaving Vegas once a few years ago, and I got talking to a guy at the airport, and in the course of our conversation, I happened to mention what I do for a living, and he said, well, Vegas is such a godless place. I'll never forget him telling me that. Vegas is a godless place. And I didn't have the heart to tell him, too polite, of course, but there is no such thing. There is no such thing as a godless place. No such thing as a godless life. And no such thing as a godless circumstance. Theologically, such a thing would be an impossibility. We believe that God is everywhere, at all times, in all places, equally. That God is no more in one place than he is in the other. That he is no more in the place of morality than immorality, than the place of success or failure. Christians have always believed this. God is everywhere, at all times, in all places. Nothing can be godless. And I mention that because I think often our lives feel godless. And if our lives don't feel godless, our circumstances certainly do. Because God seems to not be there. We are often brought low by the cruel hand of circumstance and fate. And the feeling that we are left with is that either we, or the situation we are in, God is not there. And that nothing can be done. And in stories like this in the Bible, we are reminded that there is no such thing. God is everywhere. All of God is present in all places, in all circumstances, at all times. Have a little faith. Have a little belief. What will it cost you to put your hand in the hand of God? Do what you need to do and watch what gets done. It will cost you nothing, and it will make everything better. There is no godless. Not here, not in the home you're going home to, or the place you're going to work in tomorrow. God is with you. You go with God. Any questions on any of that? No, there's not, because it's 11:35. Thanks for coming. God bless you. See you next time.